And hey, everybody, welcome back to our weekly check-in. This is our first check-in for the week, and we are moving into limitless living. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. Tonight, we're diving into the science behind the most powerful combination of metabolic healing. That is fasting and what we're calling balanced bites. That is how we fuel the body. Fasting resets your hormones, drops your insulin, and it unlocks the fat, that fuel that we've got stored up. But what happens after the fast? What do you eat? How do you eat? What you do determines whether your body heals or heads right back into storage mode. And that's what balanced bites has to do with it. That's where it comes in. This isn't just about eating. It's a strategic hormonal response to the work your fast has already done. And that's what we're going to be talking about as we move through the episode tonight. I'm glad that you're here. Whatever platform you're on, thank you for joining me. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because we'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And if you have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the comments because we'd love to get to those and to answer those questions because those are very important. We love answering questions. We love questions that are here. I see some of our community members that are coming through. We'll get over to say hello to them here in just a minute. And we've got my monitors that we're going to take a look at. I've got my Keto Mojo and I've got my Contour. And then, of course, right below me is my Dexcom Clarity Report, which we'll take a look at as we move through the episode tonight. So this is an amazing one as we are moving into making ourselves much healthier, right? We are talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who are interested in getting off of medication. In fact, those who want to improve not just diabetes, but there are so many other disease processes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and on and on and on. Those get better as well as we walk through this pathway. And we've been talking about our health action plan, which is a blueprint for how we go about reversing diabetes and righting our metabolism. So we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. Let me just do a quick plug for our process, right? So the health action plan is a blueprint, as I've mentioned, that says to you, if you follow this plan, if you do the things that are outlined here, you will get improvement in the disease processes that I talked about, and even list of things that I have not mentioned. So things like improved immunity, improved cellular healing, improved neuropathy, things like improving neurodegenerative diseases. All of those get better as we walk through the process of walking down the health action plan, right? So make sure that you get there. Two of the components that we've been doing in our MOVE campaign, that is metabolic optimization via exercise. So you've probably seen our walking campaign. We did 109 days at the beginning of the year. We are in our strength strategy and mindset, which is our weight management, toning, our muscle building activity that we're doing right now. If you've not joined us yet, you want to make sure you're doing that because it is an integral component of what we're doing as we move into this space. We'll talk more about that here in just a minute. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugar so you can see where my blood sugars are and what's been going on. And so let's hop over. Here is my, this is my Freestyle Libre. You see my blood sugars today, most of today has been in the red. And we're looking at this graph right here. You see that? And you'll see at the beginning of the day, we got the white part, and that's hovering right above 100. Right above 70. And of course, the white part disappears, and we see the red, and that is what my blood sugars have been, and that is indicating that it's been below 70. Let's go ahead and see what the Dexcom Clarity is showing, or not Clarity, but the Dexcom is showing. And you'll see there once again that for the most part, my blood sugars have been below 100s, and then approaching 70 according to this over the course of the last several hours. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put my finger right on it. And that's one of the things I like about the Dexcom. I can actually put my finger and see the numbers. So 90s, 70s, oh sorry, 90s, 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 90s. Here, right here, you'll see a spike, and that's what I call my toothpaste effect. Right there, we went up to, I think we went up, the highest was 111. Let's see. Ooh, 119, I think. Yeah, 119 was the highest that we got. And then started coming back down. And you'll see there hovering around 100, 100, 190s, 80s into the afternoon. And then 70s. There you go, right? And then to where we are right now. So what we're going to do in a minute, after I do my ketones and so forth, we're going to hop over and take a look at what the actual graphs have been over the last couple of days, because I do want you to see that. So, but now let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at what my monitors are saying. I've got my Keto Mojo and of course my Contour. Let's pull out here and grab a, this is for ketones, and then let's see, do I have any of the new ones for blood sugar? Well, that's okay. I'll grab one of the old ones for blood sugar. And then get some Lancets out, because we've got to make sure we can get a good drop of blood. Put this back. And now a strip for the Contour. All right, let's go ahead and get that in. Get those started. What do you think my ketones are going to be? So I am right now 33 hours, right? A little over 33 hours into this week's fast. Go ahead and open this up. So what do you think ketones are going to be at a little over 33 hours? And when I say a little over, just a few minutes over, not like hours over. All right, so I got that. And I'm going to go ahead and here's my Lancet. I'm going to grab a finger and let's get a good stick there. Okay, I'm not sure if I got a good one. Okay, that was good enough. That was a brisk. It didn't hurt as it usually does, so I didn't think I did a good job. All right, so go ahead and get this. Let's see what these guys are saying for blood sugars. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and open up. This is the ketone stick, ketone strip. Oh, wow, look at that. 69 is what the Keto Mojo says. 71 is what the Contour says. And let's get this ketone stick in there. So once again, what do you think it's going to be? 33 hours, 33 hours. All right, get that one started. All right, so let's see. So 71, and then of course my, let's see, so 1.0, 1.0. So remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above that, above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now I am 1.0, so I'm in that nutritional part, which is what I normally would expect for ketones at 33 hours. Because as we talked about before, at about 24 to 36 hours, glycogen is pretty much gone. Your body has switched over to burning fat, and you should begin seeing ketones. So now, here's the thing about that. So the reason I get excited is because when I see ketones, that means I'm burning fat. And well, let me back up for a minute. When I see blood sugars that are low, as you saw, my blood sugars were, according to the graph, less than 70 for the Libre. Let me put that back up, and 77 for the Dexcom. So when I see low blood sugars, which is great because that means that my body has used up all the floating sugar that's in my blood, and now I see ketones, that means my body has had to switch to go and get fat stores to break those down. And for me, that's exciting because of this thing right here, and that's what what my weight is right now. I didn't weigh this evening, so I started the week yesterday at what, 191, I think. Yeah, so 191 when I ended the fast last week, I was 187 point something, whatever that was, 187.8, 191 when I started the fast, and so that was 33 hours ago for the fast. That was the morning. By the evening, that's where I was, and then here I am today, right? So I tell people, for each day that you fast, you should expect about a half a pound to 1.2 pounds of fasting, of weight loss, right? So for me, I'm excited whenever I see that, because I've got ketones, and my blood sugar is low, and my weight is changing, right? So I look at all those parameters, because those parameters help me as I'm looking through, going through the process of looking at what's going on in my body, and that's important. Okay, now let's take a look at, this is my Dexcom Clarity Report, and you'll see there that my average blood sugar for the last 2 weeks is 114. I usually tell people I want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120. One point there and I've had a lot of people ask me this over the last couple of weeks, because I keep saying that 100 to 120, 100 to 120, and they say, well, what is a normal blood sugar? And I said, normal blood sugar is anywhere from 70 to 99. They said, well, how come you tell me 100 to 120? Well, the 70 to 99 is what your body is expecting. That's what doesn't cause damage. 70 to 99 doesn't cause damage. Anything above 99 causes problems. And why do we say 100 to 120? Is because it's a safety issue. It's not that we want blood sugars there. In fact, if you look at a lot of the devices, they will have a range of 70 to 180, which means that they're allowing 180. And that's not that we're allowing it because of the body and that doesn't cause damage. We're allowing it because that's a safety issue. So if you're out driving, we don't want blood sugars to be below 70. And 180 says, okay, now I need to really do something about it. But if we're talking about not causing minimal damage, it's actually having blood sugars between 70 and 99, but we'll extend that up to about 120 is what I tell my patients. That means that, yes, you're still causing some issues, but it's not as if you're doing a 130, 140, 150, 180 even, okay? So I want you to understand why there is that difference. Okay, so average of 114. My glucose management indicator is 6.0, so if I were to get an A1C based on that, these blood sugars right now, my A1C would approximate a 6. I can't say that it is a 6 because it is a calculated number. And I am in target 99% of the time. Target being anywhere from 70 to 180. If I look at my 90-day average, which is what the A1C typically is, so I'm averaging 112 for 90 days. With an average glucose management indicator of 6.0. I'm in target 95% of the time. Target still being 70 to 180, and that's the number I was just telling you guys about. The 70 to 180 is a safety issue. It's not that's what the body wants. The body wants actually better numbers than that, always. And so then if I look at what's been happening, blood sugars daily, first, let's take a look at what's been happening since I started my fast, right? So I started the fast yesterday, about 33 hours ago, right about here. And if you've not joined me, you want to make sure you join me, where we do a check-in. When I start the fast, you get to see what I eat, to my last meal for the eating window. That's a fun conversation to have. And as I'm eating, I know some of you may be eating, and if you've joined me, I guess let me pause here to give a shout out for anyone who joined me yesterday and then ended your fast today. You get a hand clap and some music. So very proud of you. If this was your first time fasting, or this is what your routine is going to be. So we do it 3 days. So those of you who joined me yesterday and ended today, kudos to you. There are some of you who joined me today to start your fast today for the next 24 hours. My hat's off to you as well. Kudos, kudos, kudos. And then there's some that have decided that they're going to wait till tomorrow and they're going to fast with me for the last third or the last day. my props to everybody. And if you're doing an extended fast, like we had one of our community members said they were at the time at 41 hours. We had someone who started the fast today, had someone who broke the fast today. So just excited to see everyone doing these things that are bringing metabolic benefit to them. Okay. All right. So yesterday, started the fast right about here. And so you saw what I ate. It was a salad with, what did I have? Salad. I had some meatballs in that. I had salmon. I had asparagus, right? So if you've not looked at that video, that's a great one to go and watch so you can see what that was. So here what happened. So I ate my last meal, and then here is what happens to my blood sugar, right? So after that meal, it jumped up. I think it got up to about 112 right there. And then, let's see, 117, 116, and 108, 107, 100. And notice that it's continuing to go down, right? So got into the 90s by midnight and kind of stayed in the 90s until and went down to the 80s until my toothpaste effect, which was right about here, popped up to about 106 this morning, 119, and then continued going down. So you'll see there that the meal that I had, the last meal that I had, did not have a significant impact on my blood sugars in the fast so far. In fact, it primed me. Remember that. It primed me for getting into the fast so that when I came into the fast, my blood sugars were stable. This is what we want to happen. Okay? So I'm going to go back further. And so we started the fast there yesterday. And what I want to do is I want to go back all the way from when we broke the fast last week. And let's see, where were we? Sunday. Okay, yeah. So broke the fast on Friday of last week. And I think I went through some of this with you on our show on Monday. Broke the fast right about here. And you saw what the meal was that I ate. It was a salad with some nuts. What else did I have on there? Go back and watch that. We had, avocado, right? So we did some avocado there as well. And so went up to about 126, 120s, the rest of the next day into the low 100s. There's my toothpaste effect right there, right? So we started with a higher number, so the spike was higher. And then we ate lunch and got up to, what do we get up to? 150s, probably 150s, 160s. And then into the next morning, this was Sunday morning, 160s. And then here's where I was out working in the yard, and my Dexcom fell off, and I put another one on and kept working in the yard, and it fell off. And then I decided I was just going to wait. So that was around 3 o'clock, and I waited until I was done out in the yard, and then I put another one on. And then this is what we just looked at. Okay, so those are the numbers. Those are the numbers. And the benefit that you're seeing there is a direct result of the fasting, the strength training, the walking that we're doing, the balanced bites, right? Because I am in the process of thinking through the balanced bites idea. And that is what we're going to be talking about. That's the fourth pillar of our health action plan. All right, so let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. I see you guys out there. And let's pop up and see, who do we have? So we've got Julian who's saying, hi, doctor. Hi, Limitless Living Gang. Happy to see you guys again. Hey, Julian, glad you're here. Pamela saying hello to everyone. Steve saying hello to everyone. Gian says, hi, Pam and Steve. And Jennifer is in the house. She says, howdy, all. Gian saying hi to Jennifer. Pamela says, when blood sugar stays below 70, is that good or a bad thing? Good question. I like it. I'm starring it. I'm going to come back in a minute. Bowie says, hi, everyone. Pamela says, do you have to get used to it being that low? When mine is low like that, I don't feel well. Okay, I'm gonna star that one as well, because that's part of the conversation, or part of the comments I want to make. And then Steve says, I completed a 48-hour fast. That's my longest fast to date. My ketones have been 3.0 all day. I'm not happy with my glucose levels. Been a bit higher than I'd like for fasting. Interesting. Interesting. All right, so we'll come back to comment about that as well. But let me go ahead and answer. I'll start with Pamela's question. She says, when blood sugars stay low, below 70, is that good or bad? All right, so remember I started by saying that normal blood sugars are anywhere from 70 to 99. That's a normal blood sugar. But many people actually live in blood sugars below 70. In fact, if I find someone who is very athletic, someone who is very fit, this is a non-diabetic person, if I check their blood sugars on a regular basis, it is not uncommon for them to have blood sugars that are below 70. And they live there without any problem. So living at a blood sugar below 70, not an issue. Okay, let me say that, not an issue. The issue that we have with people who are diabetic, who are below 70, is that they're on medication. And the medication doesn't know that your blood sugar is below 70. So the medication continues working and continues trying to push that blood sugar lower and lower. And that's why people who are on medication, right, feel those symptoms. So the goal ultimately for us is for us to be able to live in numbers 70 to 99 normally, but occasionally we will dip below that. If we're not on medication, then we don't feel those as profound. We don't feel those because our body gets used to being there. And so to answer your question, Pam, yes, your body has to get used to it. So when someone comes to see me and their A1C is 10, 12, 14 or higher, and their blood sugars are high, when we bring them from, say their blood sugars are normally 500, if I bring them from a 500 to a 300, which is still high, they feel the same way someone feels if their blood sugar is 40, because they're so used to being in the higher numbers. And so what we've got to do is we've got to get them used to being at lower numbers so that they can now exist in a normal blood sugar without feeling those symptoms. So I hope that answers your question. So being in the 70s, not a bad thing. Being in the 60s, some people actually live in the 60s, but if someone is on medication, we don't want them there because they will feel that because the medication still continues to drive the blood sugar lower and lower and lower. Okay? So I hope, well, you guys didn't see all those comments. So let me go back up. I'm going to pop those up. Because I think I only showed Gion's. Pamela says hi. Steve says hi. Gian says hi to Steve and Pam. And Jennifer says howdy all. Pam's question about the 70s. Bowie says hi everyone. And then yes, you have to get used to that being in those lower numbers. And then Steve says that he's not happy with what his blood sugars have been. And so one of the, and I don't know what your blood sugar was, Steve. One of the things that happens is that sometimes those blood sugars will fluctuate depending not on food, but depending on other things that are going on, like rest, activity, stress, and so forth. Okay, so remember, it's not just always food. And so sometimes when we see those blood sugars, like, man, I didn't eat anything or I didn't such and such, but it may not be a food issue. Okay. All right. So once again, wherever you guys are from, wherever you guys are tuning in from, I guess I should say, I'm glad that you're here. Glad that you are hanging out with us. So let's go ahead and let's have our conversation for tonight. All right, so in this episode, we are continuing our conversation about fasting. So fasting is what we're doing. And we are pairing it with the newest pillar when I say new, the newest one that we've discussed. As you know, we're walking through the Health Action Plan. There are 7 pillars that we'll talk about. We've introduced walking, we've introduced fasting, we've introduced strength training, and this last week we introduced balanced bites. Okay, so in this episode, what we're going to be talking about is how fasting and balanced bites, that is the things that we eat, help to together reverse insulin resistance. Why your first bite after the fast can either help or harm, and then the science behind the nutrition and timing of hormones, the signaling, and so forth, right? So if you've ever wondered how to break a fast without breaking your progress, this is your episode. If you've ever wondered, well, what do I eat between the times when I'm fasting? This is the episode. If you've ever wondered, man, why do I get those fluctuations in blood sugars or my weight, or why does it seem like things are not quite working the way I expect them? This is the episode for you, because we are walking through the process, talking about the science between those two, how they benefit each other. Okay? So science of fasting and balanced bites, right? So fasting, let's talk about that. So fasting creates a state of metabolic stress that activates an adaptive response. What does that mean? So when we start fasting, the body actually goes into some metabolic stress. So the insulin levels drop, and the insulin level is dropping because the body thinks that we're under stress. And in stress, the body has to mobilize energy. And so when insulin levels drop, it primes the body to be able to go to our stored energy, which is called fat, and mobilize those for energy. Okay? So simply starting the fasting process itself causes decreasing insulin, and that is a signal not to store stuff, but to go get stuff out of storage. The other thing that fasting does is it activates something called AMPK, which is a cellular energy sensor that increases fat oxidation and glucose uptake. Autophagy ramps up. We've talked about autophagy before. This is the body's ability to clear, it recycles damaged, broken, unused, unfolded, disformed, misshapen cells. This is happening in fasting. When we start fasting, growth hormone increases, and that preserves lean muscle, as we talked about in our previous episode on strength training. It supports fat burning. It enhances tissue repair. When growth hormone is out, our body, it has the ability to recover faster. It has the ability to regenerate muscles better compared to when we're not fasting. Ketogenesis begins. So the liver produces ketones from the fat now that the insulin says, don't store it, but send it back to me. And when that happens, the body begins breaking it down. And so we are able to measure that. That's why we look at my ketones. We see that those ketones level will higher and higher and higher. That's because the liver is taking the fat and is converting it into, or burning it, and it converts it into some glucose and also into free fatty acids. We get ketones from that, and that's what the body uses. So these changes collectively improve insulin sensitivity. That is, your body has the ability now to do better with sugar when it sees it, or with carbs when it sees it. That's why after the fast, like you saw when I broke my fast, the things that I ate, the body was able to blunt those. In fact, one of the things that I didn't show you there, and I'm going to have to do this. This is the fun part. I'm going to do this maybe this time or the next time when I break the fast. So I had some Cadbury chocolate in there, and you saw what those numbers were. How was the body able to manage that without causing a significant strike in blood sugar? Was because the body was primed during the fasting to be able to handle some of what I put in, allowing the body to switch between using glucose and fat as fuel helps it to become more sensitized. And that allows me, that's the whole idea of reversing diabetes, that allows me later on to be able to eat things that I couldn't eat before that was causing spikes in my blood sugar. Does that make sense? So now that we've now that we understand what's happening during fasting, lower insulin, raised ketones, growth hormone goes up, AMPK. The question is, how do we feed the machine without breaking it? So if we fasted, that's where Balance Bites comes in. This is where we say every bite that you take, everything that you put in has a signal that goes to the brain, that goes to the body, that says, hey, we want you to do something. So the Balance Bite, it's not, we don't think of this as a random meal plan, but as a re-entry protocol, a stabilizing protocol. It is a food blueprint, if you will. Just like when you go and, you're building a house, or you're going and you're designing something, or you got a project at work, right? They've got an outline. They've got a list of things that you look at. If you got criteria, if you work for any organization and they say, hey, this is how we do things here. The Balance Bites is the plan. That's the stuff that you look at to say, hey, are the foods I'm eating, do they coincide with what I say I want to do in terms of my metabolism? Are they sending the right signals? So when we end a fast, we're not just ending a fast, we're building the next phase of healing. So let's go ahead and let's break down what the meals look like. So at 33 hours, which is where I am, my body is primed for healing. Insulin levels are low, growth hormone levels are coming up, and they're high actually. Fat is now the fuel, and you saw my ketones 1.0. You're in the ideal state to rebuild, not to burn. So we're rebuilding. But here's the catch. If you break the fast with the wrong foods, you can undo a lot of what you do in the fast itself. Because what you do is you take the body with all the benefits that it's had, and you begin filling it with things that are sending the wrong signals. And that's why we don't just break the fast, we build a good foundation that sets us up for success into the future. And we do it using what we call Balance Bites. 7 principles that guide your meals so that you fuel your body for health and not for harm. As I've said before, Balance Bites, it is a framework. It is how you think about food. It is not a diet. It is not something that you say, okay, I'm going to do this next week, or I'm going to do this for 3 weeks, or I'm going to do it for the month, or I'm going to do a challenge based on it. No. Just like on your job, you've got some processes that you go through. Whatever career you're in, there are some protocols that you go through. And it's not like, okay, I'm going to do these protocols for this week, and then after this week it's gone. No, this is how we do things. My son is driving. Yay. Okay. And so we've come up with some things that he hasn't taken this test yet, but he's going to take it soon. So we've come up with an acronym that he walks through. I say, every time you get in the car, this is what you do. Boom, 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 boom. It's not okay, I'm going to do it this time, and then next time I'm not going to. No. Right? So when you get in your car, there are certain procedures you go through. Right? You adjust the seats, you look at the mirror. Well, unless if somebody else is using your car. Right? You put your foot on the gas, you turn the ignition, right? Of course, you have your seatbelt on and all of that. So there's certain things you go. At your house, there are protocols that you go through for everything you do. You get dressed. There are some, you play a game. If you're a part of sports, if you play an instrument, right? See one of our instrument players out there, hey. Right? You're playing sports. You're playing an instrument. There are rules. Now, once you know the rules, there are times when you can, because you know the rules well, you bend the rules, you can use the rules in different ways, but you can't do that until you learn the rules. And so that's what Balance Bites is. It is a set of principles that every time you think about food, this is what goes through your head. It's not for today. It's not for tomorrow. It's not for next week. It's not for the the 90 days that you're going to do at the beginning of the year when everybody says, okay, I want to be healthy. This is what you're going to be looking at and going to be practicing going forward. It is the way things are. So let me give you the pillars. Okay, and these are the cornerstones of what to eat when you do eat. And you've heard me talk about it. Number one, we say what? Whole foods first. And let me go ahead and pop this up. So whole foods first. Real food speaks the language of your metabolism. Food that is as close as possible to what it looks like when it came out of creation. Minimize processed foods. Number two, if it's built in a lab, your body doesn't know what to do with it. Or doesn't understand it a lot of the times. No added sugar. Sugar is the spark that relies, right? Or causes insulin levels to spike. Notice I didn't say no sugar, but no added sugar. When you're looking, and we'll come back and talk more about that here in just a second, right? So lean protein and healthy fats. These are your anchors. They quiet cravings. They fuel repair. They help you feel satiated longer. And it sends a signal to the brain that, hey, we're good. Starchy and non-starchy vegetables. So we want to balance them. Balance is key. Colors equal nutrients. Fiber equals control. So we spent some time today talking to someone in the office about starchy and non-starchy vegetables and where they are, where they come from, how do you put them together? And it was a fascinating concept or fascinating conversation because it was something that she had never heard before. And most of us, we just grab stuff, right? But how you put it together, in fact, how you eat it is important. Portion control. Eat until you're satisfied, not until you're stuffed. Your body knows. Listen to your body. It takes about 20 minutes for the signal to get from your stomach to your brain that says, I'm full. And then, of course, make it enjoyable, tasty, right? Food should be healing and tasty. If it's bland, if it's unpalatable, you're not going to eat it, not for long. So when we break a fast, don't think of it as ending something. What you're doing is you're entering the next metabolic phase. So often we come to the fast, we're like, oh my goodness, whew, I'm so glad I got out of that fast, or I can't wait to get to the end of the fast. And I could tell you when I'm having some trouble with the fast, with my fast. You know how? I'm thinking about food. I'm thinking about when the fast ends. I'm thinking about that thing that I'm going to have, which is why last week we ended up with all those Cadbury's. Because I was anticipating ending. Not that I was hungry, not that my body needed it, but I was, okay, this is ending. But I'm not ending. I'm actually just entering another phase of my metabolic healing. So when we do this, when we are breaking the fast, what we're doing is we've already cleared the cravings. Now we're just painting a picture. The canvas is clear, and we are now building on top of that. And that's what Balanced Bites does. So in between our fasting, what do we do for the rest of the time? Balanced Bites is how you make the picture one healing strength, one long-term change, one decision at a time. So let's talk through Balanced Bites. Balanced Bites. So it's a strategic refeeding for hormonal stability. Let me say that again. So strategic healing for hormonal stability. When we talk about diabetes and we talk about metabolic disease, all the diseases along the spectrum, and you've heard me rattle them off: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, obesity, metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, on and on and on, right? So when we talk about all of those, they are hormonal issues, and the culprit hormone is insulin that then drives other hormones to become dysregulated. So we talk about, okay, it's a food problem. Well, the food sends a signal, but the signal that it's sending is affecting a hormone. So Balanced Bites is how we reintroduce nutrients, not just what you eat after a fast, but your body is in a heightened state of insulin sensitivity, so that the types of foods that you eat and the timing of the food matters more. When done correctly, refeeding with Balanced Bites avoids insulin spikes, right? Combining protein and fat and fiber slows the glucose absorption. It prevents post-fast binge eating and reactive hypoglycemia. So reactive hypoglycemia is where you eat, and because your body is dysregulated, you have an enhanced response to insulin. So people eat food, they eat carbs, and the body sends insulin out to fix the carbs or lower the blood sugar, and it overshoots the amount of carbs that they ate. And so what ends up happening is the amount of insulin that comes out is so much that it then drives the blood sugar into the lower range. That's called reactive hypoglycemia. So when we do Balanced Bites, it prevents post-fast binge eating. What is post-fast binge eating? It is, my goodness, I'm so excited that I'm done with this fast. I have not eaten such and such for a long time. I'm gonna have some. I don't know when I'm gonna get any again. And because of the high processed, high sugar that we eat, it stimulates that process. And it helps us, and it makes us crave things that we would not normally crave. When we eat well, it replenishes glycogen slowly. Notice I say slowly, not that it doesn't replenish it. Remember, your body, your liver stores about 100 grams of glycogen. For every gram of glycogen, it stores 3 grams of water. Your muscles store about 400 grams of glycogen, and so for every gram, it stores 3 grams of water. So between the two, we're talking about 8 plus 3 times 8, 24. Right? So that's what goes on. And if we're not careful, it will store that and then suck up the other carbs, and it will send those carbs to fat cells. When we eat well, it supports leptin and ghrelin balance. Right? These are the hormones that say I'm hungry, I'm not hungry. It says, hey, back off a little bit. Balanced feeding lowers ghrelin, and it helps us say, okay, then leptin goes up. Say, okay, I don't have to eat anymore. And then it encourages something called mTOR, right? mTOR is a rebuilding, it's a growth pathway. So balanced refeeding with adequate fats and proteins, it helps to build muscles and helps us to improve. Okay, so that's we've just finished fasting. This is how we're eating. Now let's move into our rest of our time, right? Because we're spending, well, for most of us, we're spending more time in the non-fasting phase than we are in the fasting phase. If you're doing with us like a 72-hour, we're still spending more time in the non-fasting phase because it's 3 days of not eating and 4 days of eating. So the synergy between the fasting then and the food is important. So why are they stronger together? Why are they stronger together? So fasting decreases insulin, and Balanced Bites reintroduces food without spiking insulin. Remember, one of the pillars, decrease insulin. When we fast, it increases fat oxidation, and Balanced Bites refuels without storing excess fat. Notice, right? So insulin is down, and so when we reintroduce food, as we're eating for those days, and you saw my graphs, as we're eating for those days following the fasting, the things that we eat, we want to make sure that we're not causing big spikes in insulin, because we've already lowered it. And if we want to keep that going, then the things that we're eating now we don't want big spikes. Fat oxidation. Fat oxidation is going up because the body senses insulin going down, and now it's in the fat cells and it's burning fat cells. It's creating ketones. And we begin feeding, and as we continue feeding in our eating window, what we're doing is we're putting things in that doesn't cause a signal to go to the insulin that says, hey, insulin, come out. Because when insulin shows up, our body goes back into a storage process. Fasting increases growth hormone and autophagy. When we begin eating, it triggers mTOR when we eat protein, and that causes protein synthesis, which helps to rebuild muscle. And as we've said before, we want as much active muscles as possible, because muscles that are metabolically active, they burn more sugar, they release the GLUT4 transporters, and so they now suck sugar into the muscle as opposed to it being redirected to fat cells. So that's the benefit of the strength training that we've been talking about. And now you begin to see that they touch each other, right? So walking, strength training, the fasting. So walking is your consistency, fasting is your reset, strength training is your building, and now we're refueling with this concept of balanced bites. Fasting, it clears inflammation, and the things that we eat support recovery, and it supports hormonal balance. Inflammatory processes in the body cause issues for us. Now, one of the things, let me see, do I have it? Let me see, hold on a second. Okay, I don't have my fat model here. I was going to show it to you. So one of the things that we talked about with someone this week, I was explaining, because they was like, well, I'm not losing weight. That's what they said. But when they came in and we put them on the scale, they actually had lost 10 pounds. And so in their mind, they're like, well, how come I am not, because they weren't getting on the scale, how come I'm not seeing it, but it's showing up on the scale? Well, let's talk a little bit about visceral fat. So visceral fat, this is the fat that's not surrounding your body out here, but it's actually surrounding the organs. There's a layer of fat that surrounds your organs, and that's called visceral fat. And when we have dysfunctional metabolism, that visceral fat gets thicker. So you can imagine your heart encased in a thin layer of fat, but as metabolism becomes dysfunctional, that visceral fat, that the layer gets thicker and thicker. Same thing for the liver, same thing for the other organs. So when we begin losing weight, the first place that we lose weight, because the body is smart, it says, hey, if I'm losing weight, I want to get this stuff off around my heart. Let's get rid of that stuff first. And the visceral fat, the abdominal fat, they are pro-inflammatory. What does that mean? It means that it gives off substances that causes inflammation. And as we know, inflammation sets us up for dysfunctional metabolism. So when we fast, it clears out the inflammation because autophagy is out there and it's cleaning up those cells and it's recycling. And then when we begin eating, the food that we eat can support recovery and hormonal balance, because now we're not putting in things, right? We talk about whole foods first, decrease, minimize processing, no added sugar. Those first three things that we talk about when we're talking about balanced bites, you know what those do? They minimize the inflammatory process. So that the foods that we eat are crucial for general health. Once again, the fasting primes the system, and then the food that we eat gets to help rebuild. Fasting restores sensitivity. And when we eat well, the body uses the sensitivity to direct nutrients now that we're eating, and it sends it to the muscles as opposed to sending it to fat. So fasting basically creates space, and balanced bites fills the space with precision and with the things that we need. So a lot of things that we've talked about, and a lot of things that we are learning. And let me tell you this. You want to hear a secret? For a long time, we had no idea how to manage obesity. For a long time, we had no idea how to manage metabolism. But we are learning more and more about how the body works. And we are beginning to figure out finally that it's not just about, hey, don't eat that, or don't eat this, or don't eat that. There are things that are going on in the body that we can directly trigger, that we could directly speak to, that we could directly signal. And if somebody, and I think I said this on our show on Monday, if someone asks me, hey, of all the things you talk about, if I could only do one thing, what would it be? You know what I would tell them? Manage your food. I love the fact that we walk, because walking gets us into that rhythm. It gets us active. It gets us, joints are lubricated. I love the fasting, because fasting is a profound idea. I love the strength training because I'm feeling good. I'm starting to look in the mirror. I was like, hey, look at that guy right there. But if I could only do one thing, you know what it would be? It would be balanced bites. Food as medicine. Because when we eat, what we eat, the types of things we eat, the combination of things that we eat, send signal to our body that are amazing in its ability to regulate our system, not just up here, but from a cellular level. We can turn on switches. We can have effects on hormones. All of that happens when we watch what we're eating. And then, my goodness, pair them together with fasting, and then, of course, all the other pillars that we talked about. When we put that together, that's why it's so powerful. And you keep hearing me say, walking is for consistency and for rhythm. Our fasting resets the system. The strength training builds it up, and now we're fueling it. And together, they don't just help you lose weight. They don't just help you with blood pressure. It doesn't just help you with cholesterol and fatty liver and diabetes, but they rebuild your entire metabolic operating system. I'm a computer guy, so sometimes we talk in the office. Whenever something happens, I ask them. I said, "Did you reboot it?" Right? Did you reboot it? And here's the truth. Fasting is the reset. Balanced bites is the recalibration. Together, they're not just tools. They're a cycle of healing. You fast to reduce the noise in the system, the inflammation, the insulin sensitivity or insulin spikes, the cravings. And when it's time to eat, balanced bites brings the signal back in a clear message of nutrition, stability, and restoration. I want you to get that again. So fasting reduces the noise. It reduces inflammation. It reduces insulin spikes. It reduces the cravings. That's what fasting does. The body, the system is set. It's primed and waiting. And when we eat, the balanced bites brings a signal back. But it's a clear signal that this is what we want. We want nourishment. We don't want to damage. We want stability. We want restoration, because as we said, dysfunctional metabolism is the culprit. And when we do this, what we're doing is we are righting the ship. So your takeaway is simple. Don't just ask what can I eat? Ask, what does my body need now to keep healing? That's how we break the cycle of confusion and inconsistency. That's how we reverse insulin resistance. That's how we live a limitless life, not by chance, but by design. We are making the choices. We're not letting anything from outside or anything from inside prevent us from doing what we want to do, what we need to do for our health. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans. Health action plan. Put them together, fasting and balanced bites, and what an amazing process. And then throw in there the walking and the strength training, man, we're not going to be able to stop you. So if you want to reverse your diabetes, if you want to improve your metabolism, lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, lose weight, if you want to help with your fatty liver, if you want to go through the process of getting better metabolic results from your polycystic ovarian syndrome, here it is. And these are just two of the components, fasting and balanced bites, the way we fuel the body. Every single bite counts. We'll come back and we'll talk more as we move through the rest of the health action plan, as we talk more about how our bodies will interact with fasting and what balanced bites does to us as we fuel the body. Oh man, man, man. I love the combination of those things. Remember the health action plan is just a blueprint. It is, hey, if I follow this, if I go through it, it's like a checklist. You get on the airplane and you want your doctor, you want not the doctors, but you want the airplane, the pilots, you want them to go through that checklist, right? I do. Right? I don't just want somebody rushing in and hopping in and say, oh, come on, let's take off. No. Hey, dude, did you, or gal, did you go through the list? Did you check the wheels? Did you make sure we got enough fuel? Did you do all the, whatever they do in there? I don't know what they do, but I want them to do it. And that's what this is. It's a blueprint. It's a checklist that says, okay, how am I doing there? How am I doing this? How am I doing that? And if you follow that, then you're setting yourself up for the best possibility of success. All right, so let's hop over and let's say hello to, let's see what's going on with some of our community members. We said, let's see, Bowie says, congratulations on finishing a 48. Yes, yes, yes. Steve, congratulations. Did I give you a hand clap? There's your hand clap. Pamela says, okay. David Hunt says, hey, hey, hey. Hey, thanks for coming through. Yes, David, I was making that music commentary for you. If you guys have not been over to David's channel yet, make sure you get over there. Jennifer says, hey. David says, is this written down anywhere? And David, are you asking about the show or the Balanced Bites concept? I'm gonna star that. Bowie says, Dr. E could fill a whole book with his lectures. Thank you. Pamela says, true. What's the best day to fast? I like that question. So it depends on you. It depends on what's going on in your life. And I fast Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And the reason I do that is that my weekends tend to be when we do things. If we're traveling, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If we're going anywhere, it's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? We have a lot of functions on weekends. So I want to be fully engaged with my family and fully engaged with the things that I do. So I fast at a time when it doesn't interrupt that. The reason for that, when we talk about how to get into a fast, how to prepare for a fast, one of the comments that I make, or one of the things I say, is that if we're not careful, we begin to cause friction in our lives and friction with the people around us. And if our brain has to make a choice between fasting, which is healthy for it, or being away from community, it will get rid of fasting and get you back into community. So it'll say to you, hey, yeah, let's not fast today. And then once you do that, then fasting kind of goes away because there's friction. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are fasting at a time that's convenient for you, that is in keeping with what your family structure looks like and so forth. One of the examples I give is people who they'll start intermittent fasting, for example, and they'll start fasting at 5 o'clock, but the family sits down normally at 6 o'clock or 6:30 to eat a meal. That's automatic friction. So what I would recommend in that case is push your fasting window back so that you start your fast after the family meal. Because one of two things is going to happen. You're going to be mad. Family's going to be mad at you because you're fasting and you're not engaged. Or you're going to say, the heck with it. Let's go ahead and let's eat, and fasting goes out the window. Okay? David said, did you reboot it? Fasting reduces the noise. Yes. Fasting reduces the noise. David said, balance bites signals the right actions. It does. And so back to your, did you reboot it? When I did tech support, that was the first thing. Right? Somebody just calls and say, hey, such and such is going to say, first of all, is it plugged in? Because you'd be surprised at how many times it's not plugged in. And then, is it plugged in? Yes. Is the right cord plugged in? By the way, right? Not just that you see a cord in the wall, but is the right cord, is it plugged in? And is it going to the thing that you think is not working? And then did you reboot it? That was the next question. Did you reboot it? All right. Health action plan. Yes, health action plan, and then balance bites. All right. So if you have not joined us, as I mentioned before, you want to make sure that you're getting out there and that you are coming alongside us as we are moving through the various phases of the things that are happening on the channel. And there's a lot going on the channel right now. Okay? So we are walking through our health action plan. We are doing our strength, strategy, and mindset. We're doing our check-ins during the week, right? So you get to see me when I start the fast. You get to see the last meal that I do. You get to see the first meal I do after the fast. So there's a lot of things that are happening, and I want to make sure that you understand the function of all of them. This is all based on our Triple E formula for success. We educate. We empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows that we do, the blogs, the podcasts, the information that you're getting right here. It is with the intention of changing your mindset, giving you a different perspective, helping you to understand how the body works, helping you to understand, for instance, in this case, how the food sends signals to your body. Because sometimes it is not that people are not doing the quote-unquote right things. It's that you don't have the right information. It's kind of like investing, right? If nobody ever teaches you to save money or to invest, it's just a thing. But once you begin learning, you're like, oh, let me do this. Let me do that. Let me make this choice over here. Let me do this thing over here. I had finished residency. So I had my degree. I had gone through my residency. And so we had a dual residency, so medicine and pediatrics, so I can take care of both kids and adults. And I finished my residency, and I went, because I've done all of that, and I was coming into fellowship. So I show up on the day of fellowship after I finished my residency, and one of my colleagues, right, my senior, was showing me around the hospital, going to get my badges and all the things that you need to get. And she said a very simple thing to me. She said, hey, Dwain, I've got these 3 patients, and we're going to go get your badge, but I'm going to go see them. Do you mind seeing one of the patients for me? And I'll go see the others. And immediately after she said that, my heart rate went up. Now, here I was. So I had gone through residency 4 years. I was the chief of our program, right? Chief resident for our program. So I had taken care of patients before. I had been taking care of patients since I was a medical student, but my heart rate went up. Why did it go up? Because it was a new environment. Because I didn't know the process. And so that's the same thing here. Often our heart rate goes up, we get anxious, we're not sure what to do, And in the face of unsurety, we don't do anything. That's why they say a confused mind doesn't buy anything. That's why when you go to the store, right, they don't give you 5 choices. They said this or that. Boom, done. 2 choices. Because if your mind is confused, then you're gonna just walk out. Say, oh yeah, I'm not sure. I'll get it next time. So our goal is to provide you with information. We educate. We empower. The empowerment comes with all the tools that we're learning. The 100-day walk to consistency, the strength, strategy, and mindset that we're doing, the health action plan that we've walked through that has several components in it. When we did the domains of health, when we talk about mindful eating, when we talk about creating a menu, all of those are tools that gives you the ability to begin applying the things that we're learning. So we educate, we empower, and we encourage. And the encouragement comes from the community. If you want to be successful and remain successful long term, you've got to get into community. Don't do this by yourself. I raise my hand. I'll raise my hand, right? Because when I tried doing it myself, I ended up with 24. Should I say it, Pam? Should I say the number? Should I say the number? Okay, I've already said the number, right? Actually, it was not 24. It was 26. 26 Cadbury's and other chocolate items in the freezer because I was doing it by myself. Get into community. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. And that is the basis of all that we do. So all the things that you're seeing on the channel, all the moving parts that you see, they all fall into one of those categories. And I want you to plug in and become involved, because when you do that, you get the best benefit from all that we're doing. When you show up, by the way, you've got to get involved. Notice the name of the plan that we're going through is called the Health Action Plan, right? The Limitless Living Health Action Plan. So the things that we learn, they don't become alive until you infuse them with your behavior. You say that again. It's all theory until you infuse it with power. And the power comes when you apply it to yourself and you begin seeing the results. Like we have people in our community that are off medication, the people who've lost weight, people who are improving in how they feel, improving their weight. It comes. You get it improved by yourself. And limitless living, the concept of limitless living says that it's not just for me. Because limitless living says I'm improving myself, but I'm also improving the community around me. So that means that when you get benefit, when you learn, when you've improved your blood pressure, when you've improved your cholesterol and your weight goes down, you now get to say to somebody else, hey, I know a way to get this done. Because right now there are over 1 billion people on the planet that are waiting. They don't know what to do because there's 1 billion people on the planet. And the numbers are growing more and more and more. And you get to be a voice that says, no, we don't have to keep going like that. We don't have to keep having heart attacks. We don't have to keep having strokes. We don't have to keep having amputations or going on dialysis. We can do better. And so you get to be an ambassador. So come, improve yourself, and then go and share with other people that they can do better as well. I look forward to seeing you as we do our check-in tomorrow. We'll do something during the day, of course. Those of you who are joined us for this week, for this part of the fast, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow when we go live. We're going to do a pop-up right around 12:30, 1 o'clock. We'll be back tomorrow night as we do our check-in. We'll be back on Friday for a complete review of our of fasting, how to get into a fast, how to go through the fast, and then how to break a fast. This weekend, as you guys know, we'll have our video from the vault Saturday night at 9 p.m. On Sunday morning, we'll have This Week in Review, 6 a.m. Central. And then on Saturday, by the way, I am speaking down in Birmingham for Men's Day at the Ephesus Church. And the title is Limitless Living. Nice guys do finish last. Come join us. If you're in the area, I think it's going to be televised. It's going to be streamed on their, I don't have the link for their channel, but come out and hang out with us. And then we'll be back next Monday right here for Dwain Woode MD Live as we continue walking through the Health Action Plan. Thank you for joining me. Always glad to see you. Look forward to seeing you more. Remember, you can do better. You can make a choice. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications. Go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. And we're living limitless lives, which says that we're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We're presenting our best self, our best health, and the best plans for our lives. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at the next episode. Bye-bye.